This is episode 165 of the Double Cross Anime podcast. I'm Whooper, and here's Mario.
Hey everyone.
We're back for our final episode of 2023. Not our final 2023 related episode. Of course, that's going to come in 3 weeks with our Anime of the Year episode, which we do every year, the big event. But for now, rather than talking about whatever 10 shows we're going to put on our lists, we're going to talk about 3 anime movies. Not just from this year, but from the last couple years. I don't know if all 3 of them got subbed this year, or if Suzume already had subs in 2022.
Yes, Suzume, I think just got sub like earlier this year, I think, or like in the end of last year. But Goodbye Don't Glees certainly just got the subtitle just I think half a year ago.
Yeah, and Gridman Universe even more recently than that. You got fan subs. There were multiple fan sub groups actually that worked on it. I did pizza subs.
That's a good point. I don't remember which one is mine.
Well, hopefully our experiences weren't too different, even if we watched with different subtitles.
Yep.
There was a large effort, I think, to fan sub Gridman when it first came out.
Yep.
I don't know whether it was... I assumed that it was like on Crunchyroll and thus would have been picked up by Horrible Subs, which I think still existed at that point. But it being like, it being a Trigger series, and especially being directed by Amemiya, who's like a kind of a nerd favorite, there were people who wanted to go out of their way to sub it themselves. So anyway.
All right. My sub is Star Alliance.
Star Alliance?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they just did fan sub just for Gridman or Star Alliance. Yeah.
Who knows? Well, we'll see. We'll see if our discussion on Gridman Universe bears out any differences based on our different experiences of the films.
All right. Hold on. I think I know what it is because in the title of my sub, it also say United Allies. So that must be the sub they use for for when you would go into the ally and watch these movies.
That's right. I remember now being in a thread on a certain image board where people were discussing the fact that the movie's first rip that was going to be available online was an in-flight movie. And people were working off of that and creating subs for it and like providing updates in this thread. I remember that now. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So you have like the first copy.
All right. Maybe not the best.
Well, we'll the visuals will be the same at least, or similar.
Yep.
And the subs, I'm sure, are also similar. In case you haven't picked up on it from our mentioning of Suzume and our discussion of Gridman Universe and its subtitles, plus the thumbnail, which also shows the third of those films, Goodbye Don Glees. I think, Mario, you also mentioned that film in passing just now. Those are the 3 movies.
That's right. Yep.
Goodbye Don Glees, Suzume no Tojimari, and Gridman Universe.
We was really expected to watch The Boy and the Heron if they come out in our theater, but I think as of now, I think it just announced that in Australia we're gonna have the Boy and the Heron coming soon. I don't know when though. So it's not coming ready for this podcast.
Yeah, only one of us has had the opportunity to see it so far.
Yep.
Maybe we'll talk about it at some point. I don't know.
We will. I think it's become very massive now.
Well, it'll have. I've already seen it, so it will have been.
Oh, really?
By the time you get to see it, I think it'll have been months for me. Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Oh. Wow. How do you feel? Just a quick thought, please.
No, I'm good on that. I'll hold my thoughts.
All right.
Until we eventually discuss it.
So good. All right.
We got thoughts to give on these 3 films instead. Which do you want to go chronologically or alphabetically, or what is your plan for how we're gonna the order here?
I don't mind. We can go in any order. I think we can start with the biggest one first. With the Suzume.
Okay, biggest first. I wonder
Yep.
which one is the littlest.
Um, we find that out. I think
Yeah.
we just go for the float.
All right. Yeah, well, we can start with the Shinkai film, Suzume.
Yeah.
This was I mean,
Or
from beginning to end, this movie felt very familiar to me.
I agree with you on that, and I think it's a for me personally. I think it's a step forward for him. It's like he tried to continue in his some of his theme that he touched on based on before. So I think like weathering with you, I think it's like the progress from your name, and now this one Suzume is a progress from from that film. So I feel it's like it. Yeah, it's also another scene guy for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about progress.
Yeah,
Um,
well,
Certainly, he's progressing from film to film in the sense that time is passing between each film. Uh,
mhm.
but to me, Your Name is just like the peak of his filmography.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I remember
yeah,
seeing Wuthering with You in theaters and being so just feeling
underwhelming,
nothing. I just felt
right?
nothing about the whole movie. And to be honest, this film I had like kind of a similar experience, at least
Huh.
in regards to
Yep.
the story and the characters.
Oh, that's the same. I feel that this one is not as um not accurate at your name, but I would say it's much better than weathering with you.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree just based on how I felt after I was done watching Wuthering with You. Although I did see it in theaters with other people, and
Yep.
sometimes that can impact how you feel about a movie, like how you
Yep.
the way that you think they feel about it, and then like if you discuss it afterwards, um, that can end up changing or impacting how you feel about a movie. But it,
Yeah.
coming into
I
this film, I expected that there was going to be a girl who falls in love with a boy or vice versa, and that there would be some obstacle between them. In this case, a curse placed on the boy that turns him into a chair, um,
mm-hmm.
and that they would have to work to overcome it. And that similar to Weathering with You, in the way that the main character. I mean, I guess there's a main male and female character in Weathering with You. I wrote their names
Yep.
down though. Let me see here. Um, Hodaka. So the main male character in Weathering with You, his name is Hodaka, and
Yep.
he like makes the decision to rescue uh,
The
the
girl.
his love interest from like
Yep.
the land of the clouds or whatever.
Yep.
So she won't be trapped there holding off the rain. So he rescues
Yep.
her, and then she comes back to the real world. But in exchange, like Tokyo is buried under flooding for like 3 years. So I
Yeah.
figured there
I
was going to
think
be a
that's
similar like catch-22 in this movie where there would be the option to save the love interest, but if you do, then there might be some disaster that befalls some part of Japan. And lo and behold, that's
yep.
exactly what happened. Except this time there was a cat who followed the main characters around for the entire movie,
Yep.
expressly for the purpose of taking the love interest's place, so the natural disaster doesn't happen, and the human characters still get to be together.
Yeah, right. Because I watching the whole movie and I still, like very unsure about what exactly the role that cat uh Daichin is because he just follow the main characters around and like when it's convenient for the movies he will sacrifice himself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, technically they're following him around, but the way that the cat, Daijin, is treated by the film is basically just an accessory, because originally he was the keystone,
Mm.
sealing off the worm, sealing off the doors through which this crazy earthquake worm would escape.
Yep.
And that being his purpose in the beginning, it it's kind of, expected that that would be his purpose at the end, would be to go back to the way he was, even though you could tell he's not really excited about it. But that's
Yep.
just has to be that way so that the attractive human leads can, reunite someday.
Yep. Well, I would say that I was pretty hooked by the film in the first hour. So I think it provides a really interesting alternative concept of the earthquake happening in Japan. So yeah, it's have like the all the spirit coming out and falling down to the cities, and that caused the earthquake. I think that's a really neat interpreting of the earthquake. And the way they
Yeah.
have to show it is by like closing whatever door to seal it. I think it's alright. I can buy that concept.
How did you
Yep.
how did you feel about like the fact that in order to close the door, so there's a specific, process and even like an incantation or something, a
Yeah.
mantra that
Yeah.
Solta, the chair, has to say in order to lock the door about how like I watched it dubbed. I don't know if you watched it subbed or not. I
Oh,
realized when I
really?
double
All right.
clicked on my file, I had
Yep.
downloaded one that was dub only, and I was like,
Yep.
okay, I'm just watching it, whatever.
All right.
So in his like incantation, he says something about the ancient gods slumbering beneath the city, and how they've gifted humanity with rivers and mountains, but
Right.
the rivers and mountains don't belong to them, and they return them to the gods.
All right.
Is that the gist of what they said and like what you read in the subtitles?
I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that it's along that line.
Okay. Yeah, the
Don't quote me on
the
this.
final line of the incantation that is spoken as Suzume turns the key is, "We return them to you."
I think so. Yes.
Like the rivers and the mountains, we claim no ownership of them as humans. We return them to you, the gods.
Yeah.
I just felt as though that sort of spirituality, was only found in
Really
those
Japan.
particular moments when the characters were saying those words. Apart from that, it,
Yeah.
Shinkai's films are very modern. Like there's all sorts of technology on display. Daijin becomes a social media star, as does the chair, Solta in chair
Yeah.
form. And there are always characters talking about, I don't know, Instagram or whatever.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Oh, the bullet train. They also ride the bullet train at one point. And I don't know which character says it, but one of the characters says, "Wow, the bullet train is so amazing!" Like
Suzume.
Shinkai, I think is.
Yeah.
Oh, is it her who says it?
Yeah, I think it's her because I remember that. I think she says she have never gone beyond her hometown or something along that line.
Is
Like
it
she
her
have
who says
never-
that, or is it Chica, the girl who spills the oranges, who says that? The line
I
about
don't think it's Chica.
I've never
I
been
don't
outside
think
my hometown.
All right, yeah, that lie. Chica is the one who said that, but the one who was surprised in the bullet train, I think it was Suzume.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I just think his films are very, like, you can tell he's very pro technology based on his films. And whenever he tries to invoke some sort of spirituality, to me it doesn't really translate.
Right.
So those
right. I think
scenes
I
where they had to
understand what you
like
mean.
where they had to lock the doors by like meditating on all the human emotions that no longer exist in those places because of like depopulation, I guess. One of them was a school.
I
Where they had to
think it's
close
not
the
the
door of the school.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think it had anything to do with the population. It more like the earthquake that that make that place become inhabitable.
Uninhabitable. Yeah.
It-
That does
it's
make
like,
more sense.
It's like the scene
But
that we see in it's like the scene that we see in Goodbye Don't Play as well about the roads that now that it gets flooded.
right. Was that because of the fire?
I don't think so. No,
well,
no,
I guess
I
we'll
don't
get to
think so.
Goodbye Donglees eventually.
Later on. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. The reason I thought that Suzume might be commenting on overpopulation was the school specifically. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, the film obviously has earthquakes on the brain if it's inventing magical worms that intrude on the real world from the afterlife um, to
Yep.
that cause the earthquakes. If it's going to that length to incorporate that those events into its theme, then it's definitely thinking about natural disasters first and
Yeah.
foremost. But the issue of schools like being closed down in Japan, um,
Hmm.
because there aren't enough kids like to make it worthwhile to keep the school operational. Um, I wondered if that was
Uh,
like baked into
that
that scene.
that would be depressing. But I remember that Chika did mention that she used to be in study in that school, and I think she mentioned that some event happened, maybe because of the earthquake or something.
Yeah,
So that's the
could be.
this is the first time that she go back to that route, and like she feel uh emotional, like going back to that route.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
But
guess I
yeah,
mean
I
thinking about it, maybe that's the reason why the worms like emerge, is because the worms come from what's called, at least in the dub, the ever after, which is
yep.
the other world where people who souls of people who have passed away go to rest. So
Right.
if people are like if their souls are unsettled because perhaps they died as a result of the earthquake, then maybe that's why the worms come through the doors.
Yeah, and they would manifest in the abandoned building as well for some reason. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
the thing is, they don't always, because there's a worm that comes out of a train tunnel in Tokyo at one point
Right. Right.
in the film, and that
Yeah.
that's still completely operational. So when that happened, I was
Yep.
like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel anything like the other worm appearances.
Yep.
Because prior
Yeah.
to that
Well,
point, there were
maybe.
three worms. There was the one in Suzume's hometown at the
Yep.
that circular
Yep.
white building. I don't know what it was supposed to
Yep.
be.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And then there was the school,
Greenhouse,
and then there was
maybe.
the amusement park. A greenhouse?
Yep. Maybe
Maybe.
it just looked like greenhouse. Yeah.
I mean, it's a dome, and there's plenty of light coming through where windows should be,
Yep.
but I think the glass was like stripped away or broken, so the sun was just coming through
Yep.
directly. Maybe it was a greenhouse. I
And
don't know.
you don't. Yeah, and you don't see any trees or plants. I don't know, man.
Yeah, the
Ye-
Tokyo thing just it didn't.
Yeah. Well,
When the worm
maybe
appears in
maybe
Tokyo, I was like, huh?
yeah. I think when it gets into like the Tokyo section, especially afterward when Sota friend Tomoya appears, and then Suzume uh aunt Tamaki also appears, and then Ray Ryoka, it just like it's completely changed the tones, and it where I think I lost my interest a little bit.
Hmm. Okay. How about since you mentioned the ant? How about the scene where the ant, like under the influence of not
Yeah.
Daijin, but Soul Daijin, I guess
Yeah. Yep.
the other Keystone, who's like from the east instead of the west, I think.
Yep.
Like Soul Daijin influences the aunt to say stuff to her niece about how like she's a burden and she never wanted to, like she can't live her own life because she's always taking care of a child who isn't hers.
Yep. Yeah, I
How'd
think
that
it's
scene go
something
over
that
in your mind?
for Rama's sake, I think it's something that need to be said. But the manner of which they go on that scene is it really 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 heavy handed.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The fact that
So yep.
it's this it's not even Daijin, I don't believe, who like influences her to say this stuff. It's the Keystone with whom we're even less familiar and who we don't
Yep.
understand. We don't understand why it's decided to come along with Suzume. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's kind of know that like Suzume gonna go into that world, so it kind of like go along and supporting that. So I think we already say that Daijin is a missed opportunity. I would say the same for Tamaki the ant as well, because throughout the movie it doesn't seem like Suzume take her that seriously. She ignore all the focus from her aunt. She like, and when the aunt finally show up to scold Suzume, she decided like on the spot to follow whatever Suzume goes, and it just doesn't really make that much sense to me.
Yeah, that's true. The way she hops into Serizawa's car, and
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah,
"Well, I'm
yeah,
coming too. Then, if you're not going to listen to me, like, just
yeah.
I don't know what she should have
It,
done instead." But it does feel like Suzume just completely dominates her guardian, and that's honestly that's kind of the case. The last, like most, I was about to say the last three Shinkai films from Your Name through this one, but honestly, most of his films, it's like all about the teenage protagonists, and adults are typically treated as obstacles or just people to be ignored because the kids are up to something more important. They're trying to save the world. And in Weathering with You, the two main characters even get in
find the
trouble
one they
with the
love.
cops. They're like on the run from the police.
Yeah, yeah, true. I remember that now. We have another film that's on the run from the cop. We should get to that later on.
Oh, that's true. That's true, yeah. Another one of these three films, yeah.
Yep.
I see now that the black cat's name is not Soul Daijin, it's Sadaijin. So,
Strategy, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you close
Sorry that I
enough,
mispronounced your name. To Sadaijin, I apologize. Or perhaps to your voice actor,
Yeah.
whose name I can't even look up because all the voice actors' names here on the AnyList page are the Japanese voice actors, and I listened to it in English. The dub was not spectacular, I have to say. Definitely not as good as The Boy and the Heron dub.
All right. So you watch it in dub as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Nice.
For a Miyazaki film, I'm looking at them visuals.
Yep.
I'm not sparing a single glance at text at the bottom of the screen, man.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, this film was also very, very good looking.
Yep, I agree with you on that.
The chair. The best character in the film to me was the chair. Not Solta as the chair, but just the chair. Like its design, the fact that it has those two cute little eyes, the way its legs flip out at odd angles when it runs. Yeah. The three legs. Do you remember the scene where so Suzume she hitchhikes, I guess. She's sitting at a bus station and it's raining and a car comes up and it turns out to be like a middle-aged woman with her two kids in the back.
Oh, yeah.
So she hitchhikes to wherever her next destination is with this woman, Rumi. And at one point there's the two kids, and then there's some advertising, some in-film advertising for McDonald's. They go to McDonald's and the two kids are setting their food out on the chair. And they're stacking it up really high, and Solta as the chair is having to readjust himself to balance all their food. It's just like the way that's animated is so cute. The chair is the best.
And even I think in that same scene when the kid try to touch the chair and it's moved a little bit. You see it move and it picked the kid's interest as well. It really, really well done. Really good side gags.
Yep. And plus the scenes where Solta as the chair at the amusement park, for example, when it runs on the roller coaster track, and he over the course of the film he gets to more and more accustomed to his body and starts to throw himself long distances and jump, and it makes no sense, but you believe it because the animation of the chair in 3D CG is so good, and it fits so
Yeah.
well with the rest of the film.
Yep. I really enjoy like some many little details as well. Like Night Train become like a internet sensationals.
Right.
Like the fact that everyone just like every passerby just look at the chair running and they say, is what is it? I like these little side gag, but yeah, as a whole, the movie as a whole, I still think that it have many of Shinkai usual issues. First being it tried to cram up a lot of things to the film, and that make you feel a little bit overwhelmed. I
Yeah, I was
always
a little
feel overwhelmed
fatigued.
watching. Yeah, watching his films. And second, like he leans too much on the romance edge, which honestly I just feel very overblown at time, and heavy-handed and overblown. And then exactly the same word, but yeah,
I
just feel
mean,
overblown for me.
yeah, it's the romance doesn't always work. In Your Name, I feel like it was successful because
It's
the
the
film
best,
was
yeah.
really it was less about like the environmental and ecological side of things, and it was really more about like the two kids' experience of puberty,
Yep.
and puberty not just in their own bodies but in the body of this other person, which made them closer just by default because they had to communicate. And
Closer.
like
Yep.
leave notes for each other and experience what life was like for the other person and stuff. So the romance in that film was, to me, more successful than it was here, where honestly, like a lot of it, it's true that Suzume and Sota, that like they go on this big journey, and so they have plenty of opportunities to grow closer.
Yep.
Um, but it I don't know, it doesn't really feel as though.
Yeah.
I want to say
I
it
had
doesn't feel
this.
like they belong together, but I mean,
Hmm.
for example, if they were real people, that wouldn't be, that's not for me to say. I
Yep.
just was not that invested, I guess.
Yep. And I really like the fact that like they going on a road trip and they meet different people with like different circumstances, different background. Like you said, they meet the lady with the two kids, and they don't say that, but we learn that she like a single mom. She have to take care of the two annoying kids, and then she have like a job on the side as well.
Yeah, I
And
think does she work
we
as a
get to see that.
hostess? Is that like
Yeah,
a
he's
hostess
he
bar downstairs?
downstairs. I think she's like the owner of that as well because it's in her apartment. I think her house.
Well, I mean, some people just live in second story apartments above
That's
businesses. That
true. That's
doesn't
true.
necessarily
Yep.
mean that it's hers. I get the feeling that
Yep.
she's like a single mom trying
Just
to
work
make
there.
things work,
Yep.
not that
Yep.
she
Yep. Yep.
is the landlord or anything.
Yeah. That's right. And even we see the Shota friends Tomoya, and like you can tell that he has his background as well. So I like these little detail more than like the big plot where they amps up the romance between Suzune and Shota in the chair,
Yeah.
in the form of the chair.
Yeah. I just expect, going into a Shinkai film, as when I was talking
Yeah.
earlier about what I expected would happen in the film, and then most of it played out, similarly. Not, of course, not exactly the way I
Yep.
thought it would,
Yep.
but similarly. One of those elements that you expect to see is the attraction between two like beautiful teenage characters. Well, in this case, Sota is, I guess, a college student.
Yep.
But when she first sees him, like on her way to school, he's like this gorgeous, long, like shaggy haired, hunky, like really chiseled jaw type of guy. And her reaction is like, whoa, you know? And I don't blame
I
her one
seen
bit.
his. I seen him somewhere before. That's. Oh man.
Does she say that?
Yes, she said
I
that.
think I've seen him
She
somewhere
didn't say
before.
that at that point, but I think like she did remember it at some point that he looked familiar. I think I
Oh,
saw him
she
somewhere
would have
before.
encountered him in the Ever After.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the thing,
When
yep.
she's there and also her younger self is there, and her younger
Yep.
self perceives her older self to be her mother.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy that bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. Time messing with time like that and having two characters of different ages from the same timeline exist in the same point.
Yep.
There's something
Yep.
irresistible about that as people who live time in linear fashion and can't like escape it or move through it.
Hmm.
Just experiencing a
Yep.
story about people who can exist like outside of time like makes you kind of unconsciously long for that ability, I think.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So it's nice that all got resolved that way and that she figured out, because that would be
I
one of her memories as the older version of Suzume. She would probably remember seeing her mother there or feeling as though she saw her mother there. So that brings her closure.
Yep. I'm just thinking that would this make a better movie if Shotai remained a keystone? If Suzume failed the mission.
Oh, you mean if
I
she doesn't pull him out? Well, because
Yeah,
they were successful. The mission was to put Sota in the ground as the keystone. That was a success.
from Daijin, you mean, or from Suzume? I
Suzume was the
mean,
one who planted Sota as the keystone, and that made the
right.
worm go away. So the mission was a success. Then she decides, well, I love Sota, and I'm gonna get him back.
Oh, right. Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing about deciding that you love one
Daijin.
person enough that you're gonna potentially let millions die.
Yep. That's a big questions.
Yeah, and of course Daijin exists just to make sure that doesn't happen.
Uh,
He's right there. He can become the keystone again.
yeah. And he just longed for Suzume affection, and you see the animation is actually pretty good to him as well, because when Suzume scold him, tell him to go away, his desire just go like really really off, and
Who, Daijin?
Daijin the cat,
Yeah.
the
Well,
keystone.
his eyes kind of like shrink a little bit, change color. His fur
Yeah.
kind of like wilts.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yep.
All right. Out of the three films, where would you put Suzume?
I don't
Do
know.
you have any like preference or ranking for these three movies at all?
I wouldn't say that I have like 1, 2, 3 like a solid idea of. I know which one is my favorite, and it's
Right.
not Suzume. But I'm not willing to say that Suzume is like
Yep.
the worst of the three films or
Yep.
anything.
I still enjoy it. I still enjoy a big chunk of it. I just think that the main storyline doesn't really work to me, because again he go a bit too much on the romantic angle, which I don't really like.
But I mean,
Uh,
you can't. It's a Shinkai movie. Like you can't boot
Yep.
one of those up and be like, "The romance
Yep.
had better be exactly according to my specifications," because
Yeah,
Shinkai is gonna do it Shinkai's way.
yeah, that's right. So I actually enjoy many little bits of the movies out rather than like the big storyline.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say I have a similar opinion. One thing I did enjoy,
Yep.
there are so many anime characters who are like young. They're like young looking teenagers who are the main characters. I appreciate that in Shinkai's movies there's usually like an older woman.
Yep.
There are
Yep.
so many anime series, films, etc. that have no older female characters like whatsoever. If they exist, they're just family members of other characters and they're comedic or they're shunted off to the side. Shinkai always includes like a like the aunt in this movie.
Goodbye, don't Glees.
Oh, thinking about those two films, I guess there really aren't any.
Yeah, they yeah. Well, we will talk about that later on.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always one like really beautiful older woman in
Yep.
his movies. So he's holding it down out here for
Yep.
like lovers of adult characters who don't just want to be looking at teenagers in their anime all the time. So thank you for that, Mr.
All
Shinkai.
right.
Appreciate that.
The one thing that we
Yep.
that is a positive
That's
out
right.
of him, right?
That's my takeaway.
All right. Yeah. Do you have any other note on Suzume before we get on to the next one?
Now, yeah, what is the next one? Let's just go to it.
Um, Up to you, man. You the boss.
Well,
Gridman.
let's
Goodbye,
do
Don Glees.
Goodbye Donglees, I guess.
All right. Yep.
This is
Do that.
another 2022 film. In fact, it released even before Suzume,
Oh, right.
but it took longer, I think, for subtitles to appear,
Yep.
just because the film's not as popular. They probably weren't as eager to secure an international distribution for it because the return
Yeah.
wouldn't be that big.
Yeah.
But
For
it is
those of
by
you who, yep.
the director
Go on.
of. What were you about to say? That?
Yeah, well, because I was about to say that for those of you who isn't aware that Goodbye Don Glee is from the staff who make a play further than Universe, which I really adore.
Yeah, I don't know if the whole staff is the same.
Yep.
There's probably a good amount of overlap, but I know for sure that the same woman directed both, Atsuko Ishizuka.
Yep.
So, I was looking forward to this film because I did enjoy Place Further Than the Universe, and seeing that she made the jump right after that to a theatrical film, it's like encouraging.
Yep.
That it's not just the same people locking up the theatrical market.
Yep, I feel the same. And even I think the premise just promised for the character to go to like a really a faraway land, a real land as well that you don't see explored in any other anime. So this time it is the Iceland.
Yeah, but that it turns out that's reserved for like the very end.
Yep.
And most of the film is concerned with the little miniature adventure they go on to recover this drone.
Yep. I have no issue with that. I just feel that the two part doesn't really connect to each other very well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same.
I mean, it definitely feels as though, especially because the film opens with it's like in media res, I guess.
Yeah.
It opens with the flash forward or perhaps flashback, depending on how you look at it, of
I don't even
Roma and
remember
Toto on their bikes
Yep.
riding to catch a glimpse of the airport, I guess.
Right.
This is after they've
All
cut their
right.
hair, so this is after Drop has already died. Spoilers.
Yep.
So the fact that the film opens with that scene, and and some narration from Roma about how he had up to that point in his life, he had never really considered that anyone he knew could die.
Right.
The film starts that way. Then we get the whole thing with Roma, like the reunion of the Donglees, and dressing up as women, and I guess getting some sort of revenge somehow by doing that on the kids who tease them in school.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was supposed to accomplish.
I like a bit. I like all this. All right, that bit is not especially what I like, but I like the scene afterwards where they try to fly the drone, which like it's gone missing, and they try to retrieve it, and then they miss the actual firework, and then they try to light their old firework, which they all misfire. It's just the whole bunch of them is I think really funny.
It's like failure after failure, essentially.
Yeah, and it's not like the laugh out loud funny, but it's more like like amusing.
Yeah, man, I don't. It was definitely supposed to be amusing. I wasn't really that amused.
Right. Yep.
I don't think.
All right, now put the bear later on.
What's that?
The bear.
Oh, the bear.
So
So
yeah,
actually, I specifically wrote down in my notes that this film was like really loud. The
I agree. Yeah.
conversation between the three characters, especially between Roma and Toto, given their past relationship, how long they'd known each other for, and everything. There was like a
Yep.
lot of bickering and bantering between the
Mm-hmm.
characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and the bear scene is a great example of that because they encounter the bear and of course they freak out and they're yelling and screaming and stuff. That's very loud. But then even after the hairspray, Roma has used
Yep.
the hairspray to try to intimidate it or make it just make it go away, like blind it or
Yep.
something.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And then the bear runs away. The scene continues, and then all three of the boys are still like, "Wow, that was so crazy! What? Whoa, you used hairspray? Whoa! It stings my eyes! Ah, my hair, it's sticking up!" Like that.
Yep.
It just. I just
Hold
wanted the
on.
film to be quiet sometimes, and
Yep. Hold on.
of course,
You
it
want the
wasn't. They weren't
dub or sub?
screaming all the time, but
Yep.
the way that they talked to each other was just very. There just wasn't a lot of space for silence, or
Yep.
for the characters to think.
Yep.
I didn't
You
really
what?
like that.
Yeah. You watch dub or sub this time?
Yeah, yeah. I watched the other two. I watched Glees and Gridman Universe with subtitles.
Right. Because my version had like the English dub as well, and I opt for the subtitle.
Yeah,
And it's interesting because we can really hear drop voice actors is an actress.
what do you mean?
Uh,
In
so,
Japanese?
so in Japanese. So
No, it's
what?
Ayumu Murase. He's a guy.
Oh really?
Yep.
Jeez. Damn.
He's
Alright, just forget.
he's if you can think of how Hinata sounds in Haikyuu, it's the same voice actor.
All right. God damn.
Kind of has a
Because
high a high pitched voice.
Jeez, because I just have like a theory when watching, what, like in the middle of watching it, is that drop it actually, like the male version of Tivoli,
The male
because
version of Tiburi. I
yeah,
remember
so
Tiburi.
like, yes, because it go like this. Toto have a crush on Tivoli, and then Tivoli just fly away to study overseas in Ireland.
It's Roma who has the crush on Tiburi.
Oh yeah, Roma. Sorry, yeah. I mixed up the name. So Roma have a crush on Tivoli, and then Tivoli just study overseas in Ireland, and then this guy from like, from
Iceland.
Iceland
Yeah.
come like they Roma and Toto didn't even know him before, and he has to come like after Tivoli's left. So I thought like by some like magic, like in the same term of Suzume, like that kind of logic, maybe it's Tivoli who transformed into Rob and like become a different person, and now just here joining Roma and Toto, and like just enjoy her life
Huh.
or his life. That's what I thought until the scene where like the three of them fall into like the waterfall, and we can see Droff like, half naked, and I was like, that was off. So I thought at first that he was a girl because of the voice.
Nope.
Yep. So I was off. Totally off. But it would make a rather interesting film as well.
I suppose, yeah. Boy, that's a big theory.
Yep.
Now, drop is just drop.
That's right.
And we know the least about him. So you might suspect because he's like more of a mystery than the other two characters that there's going to be some sort of reveal about him that he's somebody else or.
Yep.
know.
That's what I thought.
But
originally, yeah.
the reason that information is withheld about his character is just because the film wants to be a little bit more subtle about his impending death.
Yep. yeah.
I mean, the clues are all there. The fact that
I
he learns to do makeup from a girl in the hospital,
yeah.
you know, he explains
Well,
that when they dress up as women, and then there's another reference to him having been in the hospital, and he wants people to bear witness to his final journey, so you can tell that something is coming. Like there's a reason he won't have an opportunity to go on another trip or journey after this.
yeah. It's still, like even though that they try hard to hint about it, it's still, like feel like a big bomb that that boom boom he's gone, he died, he passed away, and the two main guys, like they were clueless about that, and they feel really shocked.
Well, I don't think they were clueless about it up until the moment of his death. I think it comes out, doesn't it, over the course of the trip that they take to find the drone. Like at some point, the two guys realize that he doesn't have much time
Maybe,
left.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that we do realize that. Not sure about if the two boys know about that.
Hmm.
But
I want to say that they do, but I don't.
right.
I couldn't tell you the exact moment or scene. It's probably one of the scenes where they're like camping out. It maybe not the scene underneath the stars where they sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" and
Yep,
Roma's
yeah.
voice actor says "Tinkle Tinkle" because he can't say the word twinkle.
That that's charming.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not that scene because they're all together, but I'm pretty sure there's a moment where it's just Roma and Toto who are together. Drop has gone off to do something, or they've gotten separated, or maybe it's close to the scene where Drop is like on his scooter racing ahead of the other two. No,
Yeah,
probably not that. Anyway, yeah, I mean, his death was there were hints at it, and then when it happens, that serves as their motivation to travel to Iceland.
yeah, yeah. I think I like the concept well enough that like they spend 2-3 days going adventuring by their own, and I think the reason behind that is pretty neat as well, because they try to retrieve the drone that have the memories of the footage of them, so that
Well, so they can prove their innocence because people suspect
yeah,
them of having started the fire.
yep.
Because I guess I don't know if it's the cops who recover the fireworks, like that they leave at that little scene where they were attempting to shoot them off, or if it's their classmates who recover
Yeah,
the fireworks. But
yeah, but the thing is, they just freaking out because I don't think at any point we see that the police suspect them at all, But they just typically just freak out, think that people will blame them, so that they have to go to retrieve
right.
that drones.
Well, I think Roma or Toto, they probably see, like, they're part of a group chat with all their classmates or former classmates, depending on the character. And, or maybe they see it on Instagram, as it's spelled in this film. They spell Instagram with a U in there for some reason, probably because it's how you would pronounce it in Japanese. And there's like a little subplot about Roma quitting Instagram.
Yep, Instagram.
Yeah, but then he rejoins, I think, because he wants to follow Tiburi, voiced by Kana Hanazawa,
Yep. Damn.
whose voice I recognized right away. She also had a part in Suzume, actually.
She's all over the place, that you will see her everywhere, and she have that kind of voice where it's like it's instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
But
she was Suzume's mom in the flashback where she built the chair in Suzume.
All right. Yeah, but lately she just appeared as a more like a supporting role or cameo.
Yeah.
I think because she just have a lot of of roles coming out.
Yep. I mean,
Alright,
she
anyway.
made it big. She
Yep.
got
Yep.
she like climbed her way to the top of the Seiyu pyramid,
Yep.
and now she's
And
sitting
stay.
on her millions, and she just takes work, for smaller roles in a whole bunch of like high profile
Yeah. And
projects.
she been profiling for, I would say, 10, 15 years. 15 years
I
at
would say her
least.
breakout was probably Princess Jellyfish, the main character in Princess Jellyfish.
All
That
right.
was
So that
13 years ago.
backward. Yeah, 13 years ago. Damn.
Yep. That's
Uh,
older than a lot
yep.
of anime fans.
Yep. Oops. Or our listeners. Some of our listeners.
Yeah, could be. I feel like a lot of people who might be listening to this probably watched the Ninja Scroll episode because that's by far the most viewed one that we've ever done. And
Oh.
anybody who was seeking out a podcast about Ninja Scroll and Sword of the Stranger is probably on the older side.
Yep.
But if
Probably
you're out
our
there
age.
and you're like 12 years old, thanks for listening.
Yep. Well, yeah. So I like the concept of this film, and I also like what happened later on, where like as a young adult, Toto and Roma decide to go to Iceland looking for the golden fall. I think that's what they say.
Yeah, well, they're looking for the phone box, like the phone booth, and
Yep.
the golden falls, the golden waterfall that you can see like from within the phone booth.
Yep. I don't know if that play is real or not, but it's certainly like piqued my interest.
I probably should have looked it up before we started
Yeah.
recording, like whether this was a real, I guess,
Well,
tourist attraction in Iceland,
I
like whether there was a
I
working
just
telephone booth.
yeah, I just leave it as it is. But a working telephone booth in that play, it sounds so weird.
Yeah, it's not very likely. And in this film, the telephone booth has, I think, some magical properties.
Yep. 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 Yep.
I mean, the connection between Drop and Roma and Toto obviously precedes their meeting in real life because Drop hears them over the phone, as it's revealed later on in the film. When Toto gets Tibori's number in Ireland, apparently the national extension or area code of Ireland is just one off from Iceland. So because he has messy handwriting, when he types her phone number in so Roma can talk to her, he accidentally dials the number for this phone booth
Yep.
where Drop, picks up the phone and hears them. And what he hears Toto say is, what does he say? "You're scared because you try to go it all alone. This will be your last major feat at age 15. I'll be right here to witness it. Believe in yourself and you'll get what you want."
All right.
That's
So
what
now
Toto
I say-
says to Roma, but it's what Drop hears on the other end of
Yep.
the phone. So I guess that motivates Drop to go on one last adventure,
Yep. Yep.
which ends
yep.
up being... So I wonder, like, if I were to go back through the film, would Drop, upon first meeting Toto, would there, like, be a look of recognition on his face because he would have heard his voice before?
Yeah, but the thing is, we see Drop, like in the middle that like they already met Roma and Toto, and he already been the part of Don Clee already. So we don't see that first time reaction where he see Toto or Roma saying, or like when Drop recognize them as
No.
being the ones who speaking on the phone.
He meets Toto for the first time in this movie. He already knew...
Really?
Yeah, because remember, Toto comes back to this small town from Tokyo where he's been going to school, and Roma
Yep.
introduces him to Drop. Remember, there's that conversation about, like, Drop says his name, and Toto says, "Oh, your name Drop because that's Shizuku," or, yeah, his name is Shizuku, which means drop in English.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I do recall that.
So Toto does meet him for the first time. So Drop could, like, depending on the quality of the connection, between the two phones, or how clearly he heard his voice, or his memory of the voice, he might have recognized Toto's voice and been like, "You're the guy."
Yep.
But I don't think that happened in the movie. Like, I don't even think there was a scene where like a look of recognition crossed his features.
Mhm. Well, I think he'd been expecting Toto as well. So as the one the one who voiced he's here, and he heard a lot from Roma as well about Toto. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that he would have like that kind of surprise when he hear Toto voice for the first time, but
Yeah, he does hear. He would have heard from Roma, I guess, because I'm sure that Roma would have been like, "Yeah, man. I mean, the one who started the Glees, he was my friend. He goes to school in
yep,
Tokyo now. No big deal. He's just
yeah,
going to be a doctor one day. I'm friends with a guy who's going to become a doctor.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
in the way that the relationship between the three boys changes as they're going on this mission to find the drone,
mm,
there's like a sense of inferiority between some of them, or like little issues or grudges that they have against one another. And Drops is that he's jealous of the bond between Roma and Toto, which dates back to like their elementary school days.
yep,
So
yep. And I really like that little moment where Drop and Toto say to each other, talk to each other, and Roma was overhearing through the radios.
yeah, how did
I
that
think it's
work
like
exactly?
have no idea because when Roma say to them, it just they they just doesn't pick up. I think that's just something about the radio. I haven't done that
You haven't used a
before.
walkie-talkie?
I use it, but like back when I was a kid, I don't even know how it works.
Yeah. Well, you have to be pressing the button in order to transmit. And
That's
so
right. That's
that's
right.
what Roma was doing. He was pressing the button and talking into it like, "Guys, can you hear me?" But they couldn't. They weren't even
Yeah.
thinking about the walkie-talkie. So it doesn't seem possible that Roma would have heard their voice, because it's not as though they were pressing the button on their own walkie-talkie.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think it's just magic. And that's why I brought up the fact that the phone booth has magical properties, because
Yep.
you can explain, and the film does explain through like the mistaken number and the similarity between Ireland and Iceland's area codes and stuff. It explains how Drop was able to pick up the phone call that Toto
Yep.
had punched in, but it doesn't
But
explain who's on the phone when Roma and Toto travel to Iceland themselves.
yep. I think they did ask that themselves as well. So who was calling, and they said like, doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think the film probably leads you, or it implies, or it leads you to believe that somehow
It
Drop is the
does.
one calling, like from the afterlife or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I do think
so
that scene have a really nice ring to it, but I would say if they try it like in a different way, like it would make a much more impactful than this.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
how?
because I still feel the disconnection between the two part between
Oh, I
like
see.
when the three of them as a kid going to that adventure, and to Toto and Roman now as an adult going to chase Drops treasures. So, yeah, so I just I want a bit more like connective tissues between the two.
Mm, see. Um, yeah, I know what you mean. It's just that the thing is, in order to make that work, you might need to give a little bit less time to the search for the drone, and a little bit more time to
Yep.
Roma and Toto in Iceland. And if
Yep.
you do
Agree.
that, then as the viewer, you don't become as well acquainted with Drop.
That's true as well.
And then the motivation for Roma and Toto to go to Iceland in the first place wouldn't be as strong, because you wouldn't have experienced as much of their friendship with Drop.
That's true.
So
That's
it's just
true.
tough, like, because the movie had to set up the bond between the three characters, one of whom was going to die, and then post death, it had to take the other two characters to like fulfill the wishes, I guess, of the third
Yep.
one. You know, The film is
Yeah.
90 minutes, an hour and a half. And I think the other two films that we watched were closer to 2
2 hours.
hours. Yeah.
That's right.
So Goodbye Dongris tried to do more with less. And I don't think it did a bad job of it, but
Yep.
it might have needed another 15 minutes or something in order
I
to
agree with you on that.
get some more Iceland stuff in part 2.
Yeah, because I just think that the moment that drop found the throne, it become a bit too brief. Like the moment that afterwards Roma and to learn about rock dash, and then like come to terms with themselves, and like try their best to get the passport, and like saving up, all that just got a bit uh too brief for me.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it done in montage? And part of the
Yeah,
montage
it
was them
was.
getting their hair cut in the same way that Drop was growing out his hair, so it could be
That's
like
right.
donated
Yep.
because he knew that he was going to die. So
Yep.
that's just a decision he made. Like, I'm going to donate my hair. Roma and Toto do the same thing. And I remember that being part of that montage too. What I can't remember, and this is kind of a sign that maybe I wasn't that invested in the movie, was I don't remember like the last moments between the other two boys and Drop. Like, I don't remember their farewell.
Yeah, because they don't really put that too much as well. So the last moment, I think that would be when they walk back, and yeah, I think it's something about the Coca-Cola, the Cokes.
Well, after Drop is dead, the other two boys drink the Cokes, and then they line up the two dots or stars. The two dots,
Yep.
I guess, because one of them has the star and one of them has the really sloppy-looking
The
map
map.
of Iceland.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're supposed to find the phone booth when
Yep.
the entire country of Iceland is just like a little squiggly rectangle, and there's a big star in the middle of it. They could probably just Google, like, where is the phone booth in Iceland? Where is the
that would
yellow
work.
waterfall, the Golden Falls? Yeah, that I remember. I remember Coke being in that scene, and I think if I imagine it in the same way McDonald's sponsored Suzume, like Coke was a sponsor of this movie, because you see the characters drinking Cokes, holding Coke bottles up to each other, probably saying Coke. I wouldn't be surprised if there was dialogue about Coke at some point in there.
Yep.
Are you saying there's a scene where like all three of them are together and they're drinking Coca-Cola after
No,
they've
no,
found the
no.
drone?
No, there wasn't, and I think we have like the brief scenes of them, like walking home with the narration saying that the way back is really peaceful. They have no trouble going back. I don't know why.
Yeah,
but,
I do remember Roma narrating and saying, once we found the drone, it was smooth sailing getting back to civilization or something like that.
A bit too easy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think at that point they just wanted to get to Iceland. So let's hurry up and kill this guy off.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not as though you're not prepared for it, because the film does open with like the burning of the nameplate of the Donglees hideout.
Yep.
And the narration about, I never thought that someone I was so close to could pass away so suddenly, and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like the two parts are a little bit separate from one another,
Disconnected.
like they work independently of each other. But
All right.
given the
I
film's
have one more
length, I don't know, it had its work cut out for it.
Yep. All right. I give it the last note that I feel that the design, especially towards the Iceland, look pretty good. Especially like when the waterfall, we see the golden waterfall, it's sell it. But like the last shot, the very last shot of like the last 5 minutes of of the show where we zoom out and we see like the two kids, like walking in the wild. It's in CG and it's look really bad.
You think
It
so?
doesn't belong to the movie as well. No, yeah, I think so. Yes, it's look really
Huh.
bad to me.
I thought that the CG in this movie was pretty good. Like
It's
the
just
waterfall, the
the
drone.
wonderful. No, I agree with that. It's just the last 3 minutes is look off, really off.
You're talking about the scene where the camera ascends, like it goes up above the cliff where the waterfall drops off, and they're walking like on the tops of not really mountains, but they're just up on another, like on a plateau basically. Is that right?
Yep.
And everything's
Yep.
green. They're like walking on.
Yep. And we see like the two figure stick walking, and it looked obvious CG.
Huh.
Yep.
Well, the film definitely used CG models for the boys at a couple points. Like when they were on bikes, sometimes they would use a CG model there, because that's definitely. I mean, a character biking, that's hard as hell to animate. Man, I really don't. I don't like. I'm sensitive to CG in anime and stuff, and
Yep.
if I'd thought it looked ugly, I definitely would have, made like a mental note about it at the very least. But I guess I thought it was fine.
All right. Good to hear.
At least one of us liked it.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you saying that the kids were like they were teeny tiny little CG models walking on the
Yeah.
on the grass?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can
Yeah.
recall that. And I just when a character is so small like that, it's you can't get a lot of detail drawing them by hand, because they're the space that they occupy is so small. You can't draw their eyes or their hands or anything. It's just like torso and limbs.
Yeah. I think it just remind me of Initial D. It's that bad.
Initial D. Oh, there's no way, dude. Initial D.
It just remind me right up to Initial D. I don't know why, man.
Well, that's what the D in Glees stands for.
That's right.
Initial Glees.
All right. Any closing thought for you?
No, I thought the film was fine. I think I expected more from it, but it wasn't bad. Like, I liked that it didn't overstay its welcome, even though it could have used a bit more time. It was still 90 minutes. You're in and out. I didn't get fatigued the same way I did watching Suzume.
Yep. I agree with you, and I still think that A Play Further Than the Universe is a much better one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but I don't regret watching it. I still had a great time.
I wouldn't be surprised if the concept for this film originated as like a pitch for a TV show.
Yep.
Because like in A Place Further Than the Universe, some of the characters in that show also didn't get along too well with their classmates. I remember in particular the idol girl, who was one of the last ones to like get on board with the idea of the expedition to Antarctica. She was totally distant from her peers and stuff. So they start off kind of in the same way, because the club, the Dongris, is because Roma and Toto didn't have a lot of friends. You might start the show that way, and then drop as like the transfer student or something, and then they go on this trip, and then around episode 8, let's say, out of 12, he would have tragically died, and then they're like, we're gonna go to Iceland now. It could have started as a TV pitch.
Yep. But then it doesn't have the budget that we see here, so
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. Everything's a trade-off.
Yep.
Speaking of films versus TV, Gridman Universe began life as 2 TV series, and then culminated in a big screen flick.
All right, let's get to Gridman Universe then. It's the combination of the 2 series, and this is like the conclusion, basically.
Yeah. Although I think the film leaves the door open for further sequels, because even though Alexis Carib is supposed to have like infinite life, he
Yep.
still delivers a line like, "Oh, if only I had known the enjoyment that could be gained from living a finite life," and then he crumbles into dust. Then a couple of the characters who are watching this happen are like, "Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything. He could just come back to life, whatever."
Yeah. I think the whole concept of this film is just like they gain special power. They break their old universe. They create and then break the old universe. So like anything can happen.
Right. Yeah. Not only that,
Um,
but the film is also, I think, commenting on itself
Yep.
throughout the whole runtime, via the like the vehicle of the school play for the culture festival, and
Yep.
how Rika
Yep.
and
Yep.
Utsume are the ones writing it, and she wants it to be more character driven, and he wants it to be more action driven. There's a whole
Yep.
bunch of dialogue surrounding that concept, which I think is Gridman Universe talking about itself
Themselves.
and
Yep.
the franchise, and whether it should lean more in one direction or the other. Yeah, so that's just the writers talking about writing in the script.
Yep. Oh man. I have a mixed feeling about Gridman Universe in a way
Okay.
that I really enjoy the characters. I just feel it feels warm to see like all these characters, and two of them time two, no less. Like joining in the same universe and just doing whatever they do, but the and then again the action sequence it just let me cold. Like I the let's say the main antagonist of this film is someone who is he again? Like I don't really feel that we know that much about him
So
at all.
when you say main antagonist, you are talking about the kaiju that is like inside of the Gridman universe, like that star
That-
system shaped like
That's right.
Gridman, and he's at the heart of it, I think. And
Yep,
where
yep,
there's
yep,
a
yep, yep,
nest of kaiju which he is birthing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even think we get that dude's name. It's possible that it was, somebody
It's
said
just
it
a-
at one point, but I don't even think he's given a name.
It's just the dark side of the dark personality of Gridman, right?
Not
Because-
exactly.
Right.
He's not like the anti-Gridman. That's actually Grid Knight,
Right. Right. Yeah.
who betrays Gridman partway through the film. You remember he stabs him,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and that comes as a big shock because, especially in Dynazenon, Grid Knight is like the hero.
Uh-huh.
And for him to betray Gridman like that is, part of the big crunch, I guess. That was like a different version of Grid Knight, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Well, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm just kind of rambling now. So the issue you have is that the main antagonist is not particularly well like defined, or
Yeah,
perhaps
that's
not
true,
even
yeah.
given a name. I mean, I agree that kind of stinks, but at the end, he's possessed by Alexis Carib, who was the bad guy all along.
Right.
So he kind of just existed. In the end, he just existed as a vessel for Alexis Carib to possess. So he could have, he could break away from Akane's control and have a showdown with like the super omega ultra mega combination Gridman, Grid Knight, Goldburn, Dynazenon mech at the very end.
Yep.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's probably why the film is so meta thematic, and why it talks
Yep.
so much about, oh, well, should it be more character driven or more action driven, and why it has this entire through line of the script that Rika and Utsume have to write for the culture festival, is because in the creation of the film, in the writing of the script, they probably
They
realized,
admit as well.
man, this film is basically just fan service. It's just
I agree with you on that as well.
and so
Yes.
they were like, well, I mean, we probably have to acknowledge this somehow. So they did it with the play thing. And
Well,
I mean, I don't think they committed any major like sin by doing that. It is it's a theatrical follow up to two TV series. It's gonna be pretty fan servicey. There's gonna be
yeah,
all the characters are gonna come back. In fact, there's a moment the two girls who are friends with Rika, Haas and Namiko, who are always commenting on her
yep,
script, and it lies with them whether to approve it or not.
yep, yep, yep,
At
yep,
one point, Namiko, who's the not the one with the mask, but the one with the brown hair,
yep.
she says, "Oh yeah, I mean this version's way better. It's better when there are more characters."
Yeah, she
Which
said
is
that.
just the film being like, "Yep, we're bringing everybody back. You got to
Yeah.
deal with it."
And honestly, I feel that's the best part of the show. Like like it's great to see like all the characters coming back, and I always love the dialogue in the franchise. It's just so natural. It just like the two kids talking in real life, and they just do it. Like this time 10 because we have like all these different characters just talking to like one another's, and we also got like Yuta and Rika. I think is that the pair? Yeah,
Yeah,
Yuka and
from the
Rika.
original Gridman series, Yuta and Rika, and then Utsumi is the friend.
Yeah, so Yume and Yomugi already a couple, but Rika and Yuta they still still pretty much on and off.
Well,
Not
it's not
really.
that they're
So
on
like
and off. It's just
not
that he hasn't
not
confessed yet,
official. Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's the big event in all these anime is that somebody has to confess.
yeah, yep. And then we see Akane as well. Like as her live action form, and in the anime form, it's great to see this character back. I feel great.
Yeah, just not a big fan of the action.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like I honestly got confused with all these with all the characters, Grid Knight, Gridman, and like how they combine. It just went way over my head.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar problem. So one interesting thing about not the film but our coverage of it, I guess, is that you blogged Gridman and I blogged Dynazenon.
Yeah, right.
So
Very
I
interesting.
was able to track. I might have been able to track the different combinations of mechs and stuff a little better because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wrote about the show more recently, and I also wrote
yeah,
about the sequel, uh, which had so I have a better grip on all the characters from Dynazenon and all the mechs that they pilot and stuff like that.
yep.
So it's possible that I was able to follow it and maybe appreciate it more as a result of that. But that being said, I did still have moments where I was like, "What? Okay, so what? Who? So now your wings and legs are from this robot, but the other half of that robot is combined with Goldburn, the dragon, and so it has a special gun. But
Yep.
at a certain point, you just have to let all that go and be like, whoa, they're fighting,
Spectacular.
and they're giant robots.
Yeah, the ultimate form.
Yeah, I will say it was the third. So there are three battles, or I guess altogether there are five, but really there are
Right.
three major instances of conflict between multiple characters in the film. The first one is Yuta fighting against the first kaiju that shows up, and so this is his first fight after regaining his memory.
Yep.
He doesn't perform that
Yep.
well, but Dynazenon, the synth, dun, 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 the from Dynazenon starts to play, and Dynazenon falls out of the sky and like lands in a battle pose, and I was like,
Yep.
oh fuck yes, it's Dynazenon time.
All right.
So that's the
Yep.
first scene, and then Dynazenon helps to beat back the other robot, the kaiju, and then we have the film kind of explains the big crunch theory. I don't know
Yep.
if that phrase was present in your subtitles, but
Yeah, the big crunch.
okay.
Yeah.
okay. So that's when the film explains the big crunch, and we have the primary Gridman characters and the primary Dynazenon characters occupying the same time. At that point, still relatively simple. Then the second major conflict is the much stronger kaiju, who takes on both Gridman and Dynasanon and like is defeating both of them easily. There's even a cut where he grabs both of them and like swings them upwards so that they clap together over top of its head, and then he throws them both away. I was like, oh yes, this is awesome. At that point, I'm still into the combat. That's when Goldburn and Grid Knight show up.
Yep.
And I'm at that point I'm still following along. That's also where Grid Knight, a different version of Grid Knight, stabs Gridman. And then Anosilis, the girl with the hoodie, who is like Grid Knight's partner, I guess, where she starts to explain the nature of how all the universes are coming together.
Yep.
And that was the stuff that I really didn't like, where the film was like, oh, so you see, it's all part of the Gridman universe, because when Gridman did such and such, it created a universe in the shape of Gridman, and now all the galaxies are overlapping. I was like, just we understand that it's a multiverse thing. Just get on with it.
Yep.
And so just to put a bow on my very long-winded and annoying explanation, then there's the third combat, which is just where everybody is here together and they're all fighting, and there's a million combinations. That's where I kind of got lost a little bit, and I was like, I can't even really make out what's going on in half of these scenes, and
that exactly what I feel. So I feel totally lost in the especially the final battle.
I felt the same way, but I was very hyped up for the first two battles.
I agree.
Dynasanon dropping from the sky and landing to protect Gridman, and so they could like fight together against the first kaiju. Awesome. Then the strength of the second kaiju and how Gridman and Goldburn had to arrive from another dimension. Awesome. Then the film starts to get really messy with the multiverse stuff, and I fell off of it a little bit.
Yep. All right. My feeling exactly as well. But in here we also got Yuta, like feeling of disoriented. Like he feel that the time passing was wrong. He didn't do the test, but everyone said that the exam was already gone.
Right, you're talking about Kai Igarashi's cut, right? The same guy who directed the Dream episodes of Gridman and Dynasanon.
Oh, that's the cut. All right, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that one. Yeah,
where he's in the hallway and it's all tinted red, and the papers of Rika's script that's been thrown away get hit with the volleyball, and then they all burst into the air, and then they all start like obscuring his vision and stuff.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. Like, and I think another version of him, not feeling disoriented to other world, and maybe he's like the unreliable narrator, or maybe he become a sort of bad guy themselves in the same with Madoka the movies. I think that would make a good one as well.
If Yuta were to become a villain?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, you could do something with that, because that would like impact his ability to fuse with Gridman, and then Gridman might turn evil as a result, something like that. Yeah. The thing about the way this movie is written with the whole multiverse angle and the film like bogging itself down with that and explaining, oh well, this dimension is with that dimension. They could have done whatever they wanted. Basically,
that's true.
They could have been like, "Oh yeah, Yuta's been corrupted by Gridman because of such and such a reason." Technobabble, and Yuta's evil now. And then they have to cure him with the fixer beam. Then he fuses with Gridman again, and then they fight against the main bad guy.
Yep.
Could have done that. They could have used that scene in the hallway as like they could have gone from there and jumped into like Yuta's mind being corrupted. Could have been
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Because I think that's the direction that I was going to. Period. Until I think Auntie and the other one showing up.
Anosilis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember the scene in, I think it's in the third battle, when Anosilis transforms into the gigantic battleship?
Yeah.
And then, like,
Yes.
so at first you thought she was just piloting it when she arrived in their dimension during the second battle. But no, she
Yep.
actually was the battleship. And then there's a scene where, like, some door opens up and her face is in there. And she's just a giant battleship with a
Yep.
giant face.
Yep. That insane.
That was insane. I was like, oh wow. So this is like Darling in the Franxx. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that show, but there was a
I
scene where
I
like
know.
there was when they all go out into space. I think there's a scene where one of the characters is literally
That's
just
toward the end, right?
yeah, one of the characters is just a spaceship. Like there's no effort made to fuse the two in any sort of natural way. It's just her face on the front of a giant spaceship or something like that. That was very weird.
Yep. And then we also have some sort of character moment for Goma.
Oh yes, when he meets the princess.
Yep. Yeah. We don't actually see any result of that, but I think it's nice to get a bit of time for this character and that character, so we get a lot from Yuta and now Goma
Yeah.
and Akane as well. So yeah, I just feel that character wise the film works.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I do think the film is pretty ordinary
Ordinary.
on a character level. Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Like for example, the fact that it ends with Yuta confessing his feelings to Rika, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like you too," and that's the end of the movie. It just feels
Yeah.
very ordinary.
Yep.
It's what you expect, the same way that you go into a Shinkai movie expecting that the romance is going to drive it, and it won't necessarily be, fulfilling.
Yep.
But it's it's all right. It's good. Personally, I always liked Yomogi more than Yuta.
I agree with you on that.
So-
Even though I still have the beef with the hairs.
The beef
I
with the
s-
hair.
I still don't like the hairs at all.
Oh,
Both of the
okay.
hairs.
You
But,
mean Yomogi's hair or both of them?
both of them.
They do have Yuta's hair, I think, is way worse because he has the two little weird horn-looking things as
Yep,
part of
yep,
his hair that jut off to the side of his head
Yep.
that are kind
yep.
of rounded. That is really goofy to me. Whenever I
Yeah.
see his face on screen, my eyes are drawn to those two little horn things.
I would say the same with your Mugi's hairpin as well. So
Oh, the hairpin. Yeah, that didn't really bug me.
all right, but
It is
Rika
distinctive.
Yume on the other hand, though, they just gorgeous to look at. I mean, bias here.
They're cut from the same cloth. They have the same. I think they have the same hairstyle. They have the bangs. Their hair is flat on top and it kind of puffs out a little bit, goes down to like waist length, or a little. It's more like halfway down their back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 And,
They have visual similarities in the same way that Yuta and Yomogi kind of do, I guess.
Yep. Yep. Agree.
But there are some
And,
characters who definitely stick out, like Chise, for example, where
Yep.
she's got the tattoo, she's got the bowl cut with the two side ponytails that hang down to like her waist. She's got the art skills. She's the one who draws the nice sketch of Gridman, which later on ends up like Yuta sticks them in his shirt pocket. And later
Yep.
on, the multiple sketches of Gridman are like composited into a new Gridman who exists independently of Yuta.
I like that idea.
Yeah. I thought, that was another instance of the film just doing whatever the hell it wanted, basically.
Yep.
But I think it worked because you knew, like when he put those drawings in his shirt pocket, something was going to happen with it. Like he didn't just do that for no reason.
Yep.
and Chisei contributed the best one. So basically, Gridman coming back in a cool new form was down to her. Everyone else's. Can you imagine how ugly Gridman would have looked if her drawing hadn't been part of that group of
Yeah.
drawings?
Yeah,
It
I
would have looked like
remember
a
who
like a
was
blob.
drawing at the time. Is that Rika or Yume?
It was
Especially
it was
was
multiple
really bad.
people. Rika, Yume, I think Utsumi did one. Yuta's was the worst of all, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, but Gridman having that was kind of a fun way to give a character a new form without tons of combinations and transformations. Just to have those papers, like magically make a new Gridman with a new design, like Gridman 2.0 instead of Gridman version 10,000.
Yep. I agree. It's such a shame that we don't see much of Chise or Koyumi more than I want it to be. But like as a film that have like literally like dozen characters, main characters.
Yeah.
I think the film does a pretty much good job.
Yeah, I would say so. There's also, speaking of characters, I mean, that's not a great segue because, of course, we're talking about characters, but
Yep.
there was a cameo from the actor who played the hero of the 1993 Tokusatsu Gridman series.
Oh wow.
He's the guy on the motorbike who gives Yuta a ride back to the junk shop.
Oh right, that's why I have no idea why he was included in there. Now that explains it.
Yeah. So
All right.
not only was he like visually similar to that guy, but he was also voiced by the actor who
I
played
see.
the main character in that Gridman show. So
There's one character though that who voice stick out in a bad way to me,
oh, who's that?
and that was Yuta Mom.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, she's like a Trigger staple. She gets voice work in pretty much every Trigger series. She is, and the reason she has that little earring of the eyeball is because in I think Space Patrol Luluco, one of Trigger's
Yep.
shorter series,
Yep.
she plays an alien who has eyes that look like that.
Oh,
And she's been in pretty much everything they've ever made, I think.
okay.
There might be some exceptions. But she did get a good line in, and it was during the scene where Galma was reunited with the princess.
Yep.
And the two of them, obviously the focus of that scene, then it kind of cuts away and there's a shot of Koyomi and Rika's mom
Uh-huh.
who are off to the side, and they're talking about like, oh, who's that beautiful mysterious woman? And he says, oh, she's from a world that Galma can never reach. And then Rika's mom says, oh, so she's on TV.
Yep.
like she's an actress. Which
That
I thought,
actually
that was the one like laugh out loud moment for me
Yep.
in this film. Not to say that there weren't other parts where I was like, oh, that's kind of clever, but that was the only part
Yeah.
that really got me.
Yep. All right. So I think I still say that I enjoy the movies. It just again the action scene just let me go.
Man, I really
you-
can't agree with that statement because I thought that the earlier ones were like kick ass.
All right, the last action scene let me go.
That I can agree with. But do you remember? Do you remember how you were talking about how the main antagonist, not Alexis
Yep.
Carib, but the nameless kaiju who was feeding off of like Gridman's guilt?
Yep.
There's a scene where Akane like fuses with Alexis Carib or controls him using instance domination from the
Yep.
real world, and there's that scene where she's essentially piloting Alexis Carib, and he's like weaving and dodging through all of the energy bursts that robot is shooting. This is when the
Right.
film has like a completely white background. It's taking place in a vacuum, and Alexis Carib is like weaving and dodging through all the bursts of energy that this nameless robot is firing at it, and it eventually like pulls its heart out, which is the nest of all the kaiju, and drags it back into the world where they can all have the big battle against it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
scene I really liked because it was just, robot versus robot essentially. Just Alexis Cara navigating that white space, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
it's
remember
just
it stand out as well.
yeah, it's fan service. It's another piece of fan service in a film that has quite a lot of it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I can get enough of it, so I'm good. I think I'm the fan of. I within the target audience of this film,
Yeah,
and especially like if you get past if you come to this point where you have to watch the two series before that, or the like the theatrical version of it, you come to this point, you about to expect to like just enjoy them hanging out to each other, like just see more time of them interacting to each other.
right.
So yeah, more fan service, and in a good way.
Yeah, on the whole, I would say so. I mean, this was my favorite film of the three.
Oh wow, right. I can see that. All right.
Yeah, man.
Kind of sad that like two other films are original, and you don't enjoy it that much.
Well, I just I like Gridman.
Yep.
That's about
Yep.
all I got. Yeah,
All right.
I like the film.
All right. I think that pretty much is for 2023. We will see you again back in early January for a very big one.
Yeah, Anime of the Year episode in 3 weeks. We'll be
Yep.
back.
Enjoy the